Hi everyone, welcome back to Meet the Paralympian, a series we're doing here at the UBU where we chat and talk to some amazing UK Paralympians. We have pleasure to be joined with Nathan Maguire. Nathan's a 23-year-old wheelchair racer who competes in the T54 classification in the sport of wheelchair racing in the 100, 200, 400, 800 and 1,500 metres. Nathan has competed and won medals at two European Championships, two World Championships, the Commonwealth Games, and the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. Really great to have you here, Nathan.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, especially on International Day for People with Disabilities as well. I'm honoured to be the athlete you've chosen for today.
Exactly, perfect timing. So, when we get people in, usually the first question we ask them is, "How did it feel to represent Team GB?" So, tell us a little bit about that, Nathan.
Obviously that's the ultimate goal for any young person really when they start their sporting career. You watch sport on TV and you see the people that are competing on TV wearing that GB vest, and then that's the goal for you. You want to do that as well.
Of
So
course.
obviously, for me, uh, I, Paralympic sport is a very different to able-bodied sport. Paralympic sport, you'll turn up at your first training session and you'll be training with Hannah Cockcroft. You'll be training with David Weir. You'll be training with the Paralympians that you see on TV. So it's almost that's the goal. It's more visible for you. You can see what your end goal is and what you want to achieve, and you can kind of learn from those people as well. So wearing a GB vest and being part of Team GB and representing my country is that's everything. That's what I do it for. I love putting the GB vest on. I love every opportunity I get. I put one of the t-shirts with GB across it on, and try and fly the flag as much as I can. Really.
And obviously, during when you're not competing, you're training, and obviously, with these various lockdowns and coronavirus that have been put in place, it's made everything very different, very difficult. How how's it changed? How have you managed to pull through?
It's been very different to a normal year. Normally, obviously the Paralympic Games has been postponed until next year, and we went from a year where we were only going to be having 2 or 3 weeks at home to having 9 months, a full block of 9 months at home. And we couldn't go to the track, we couldn't go to the gym. We had to completely reevaluate our training and change it up to just everything new, really. At the beginning it was very difficult because we just didn't know what to do. But obviously over time we found new routes like on the road. We found like ways of getting around sessions. Like as a group, I train with a group of wheelchair racers, and there's 9 of us, and we were all on a Zoom session like this, training together, and we're all on rollers, which rollers is like a treadmill for your race chair, and all 9 of us would do a session, and our coaches would do our timing for us, and they set out our training, and we're doing that 3-4 times a week, and that just gave that kind of structure of you can fall into this trap where if you're at home all day and you've got to do a roller session, which is at home, you just go, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And then it never gets done. Whereas if you've got that structure of, I'm going to meet you on Zoom, you're going to have a chat, you're going to have a right laugh with all your friends at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to do the session for 2 hours, then it kind of structures your day and your week. So that was a definite massive help. I'm lucky enough to live with Hannah Cockcroft. She's my girlfriend, and just being able to, the days where I didn't want to train, she really helped me because she was like, no, come on. And the days where she didn't want to train, then I helped her. And I think that we kind of had that, we bounced off each other to kind of make sure that we were always on it and making sure that we could get the most out of this year, because we wanted to make sure that we didn't have, we've seen a few athletes that have gone, oh well, I've got an extra year now to the Paralympic Games, so I can have a bit of an easier year. Whereas we kind of took the stance of next year we want to be even quicker, so we want to make the most of this year and make sure that we're strong next year. And as I say, it's been a year of just trying to work ways around things and making sure that we've got the opportunities, that the best opportunity we can make. Me and Hannah, we built a gym in our garage as well. So, that saw us painting the walls and changing doors and everything, and just making a gloomy garage from what started as just a garage with a squat rack in to now we've got a full set of dumbbells, we've got a nice gym floor, and we've built a gym from there. And I think that's put us in good stead as well. If we ever, like for the last lockdown, we've had the month of lockdown, we've used that, and hopefully won't, but if we're going to further lockdowns again, then we've got the facilities that we be able to train at home if we need to.
Would that I don't know, make you want to, even post COVID, train at home? If you got that facility now, would it, do you have to go back to a normal gym?
Yeah, well, obviously we train at a gym. I train at a gym, which is with my S&C coach, strength and conditioning coach. He's like a 1-to-1 session I do with him twice a week. And as lockdown started lifting last time, he started coming to us. So it's one of them possibilities. And as well, if for some reason that his gym isn't available one day, then we do have that facility at home. But as I say, sometimes it's very difficult to train at home.
Yeah.
For a lot of athletes, it's very difficult to train at home because you've always got it looming over the top of you, and it's always there. You're always seeing that gym, or you're always seeing your rollers or your race chair in the corner going, come on, time to train. And it's really difficult to have that kind of work-life balance, if you understand what I mean. Whereas, like, if you're training from home and living from home, then there's no kind of going to training. It's always there. So I think I kind of like the happy medium of some sessions at home where I can just kind of roll out of bed in the morning and get on in my chair and in the gym. But I also quite like going to places, meeting people, and kind of using that as well. And that's exactly, I was saying about the Zoom sessions. That's why that helped, because I was with other people and people not relying on me, but at a certain time, it's structured and it says, right, at this time you're going to be with me, and that for me as an athlete helps.
So Nathan, would you say there's a big difference in the World Para Championships and in Paralympics? Is there like a big difference in terms of the qualification process, or just the way things are with the Paralympics and World Championships?
So I would probably expect everyone that was at the World Championships last year with me to be at the Paralympics with me next year. Obviously, it's all about qualification standards and qualification times. For me, our qualification window, it started in the end of 2018 and it ran all to 2020. That was for the Paralympic one. And that's ran for 2 years. And obviously it's been extended another year, but no times from this year will be counted to qualify for next year. And I think, that is kind of, I think that's put us a bit more in better stead, because obviously, some countries aren't in as tough a lockdowns as we are. It's killing me sometimes. I'm seeing some of the people I race against, like a lot of the Chinese and a lot of people in like Thailand. They've been on track the whole time. They haven't missed a session, whereas we've had 6 months off a track. So the fact that they've said that no qualification time, no time from this year would count towards qualification window does definitely help, I think. But I'm looking forward to the Paralympics next year, and I think it's going to be tough, because the Paralympics, for my classification, especially at the World Champs last year, there was 32 of us, and I would say that's probably the toughest classification in parasport, to try and make a final and medal eventually. So it's very difficult in my classification, but that's why I want to hopefully qualify for Paralympic Games, take a few scalps on the way, and see what happens in the final, really.
Interesting.
Sounds good.
So Nathan, unlike my colleagues here on Zoom, I don't really ask many serious questions.
Okay.
My question is going to be, what's your favorite Premier League team? And the reason I'll tell you that I asked this question is, last time we were doing it with Ali Jawad, and I asked the same question, and turns out he's a Liverpool fan as well. And I'm a big Liverpool fan as well. And he has also met Klopp. Sorry?
I don't think you're going to like me then, because I'm a Manchester
United
United
fan,
fan.
yeah.
Manchester United.
Yeah. I know a couple of United fans, but
well, if you come round here, you'd know a lot more, I think.
But did you get a chance to go and meet the team, or have you ever had any experience like that?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I was I was a member at Manchester United, and I went to the only game I managed to get to. I've been to 2 games. I went to one at Liverpool, and that was an away game, and we beat you 2-1. So I was quite happy with
Worth it.
as well. I went to a game where played against Portsmouth, and we got beat 1-0 in the FA Cup semi-final. So that wasn't great. So I've had a 50-50 chat there opportunities. So hopefully next time I go, we'll just pick someone.
Well,
I think
all I'm gonna say is just don't go in the next couple of years, because right now United aren't really.
It's not going great. It's not going great.
Well,
Hopefully.
deepest condolences for the game yesterday. But anyways, that was my question. I'll hand back to Connor for him to ask you another serious question and turn the mood
Well,
down,
actually, it is
and
quite
then
a
I'll
serious.
step in.
It is quite a serious question. I don't mean to. My transition probably won't be that great. So, Nathan, tell us a little bit about, and obviously, what. Let me get the question up. What resulted in you becoming a wheelchair user, if you don't mind talking about that?
Yeah, of course. So I was just a normal child. I ran around and played football. I did athletics. I did everything that a normal child does until I was 8. And on the 27th of October 2005, I went to bed. I had pins and needles on my feet when I went to sleep. And everyone knows what pins and needles feels like. And you tell your parents, and your parents are just like, "Oh, it's pins and needles. You'll be fine." And I woke up the next morning, and the pins and needles slowly started moving up my body. And wherever the pins and needles were, I couldn't feel my legs. And pins and needles moved up and up and up, and finally stopped at my neck. So I couldn't feel anything from my neck down. And I was in intensive care. I was in hospital, and it slowly moved down. It probably stopped around about here. So I'm about T2 level, and I can't feel anything from there down now. And the pins and needles have never stopped. So everyone knows how annoying pins and needles are, and I've had pins and needles constantly for 15 years. But obviously, I always say that a lot of people say that a disability is the end of their life. I always say that was the best thing that's ever happened to me. That was the start of my life, because without my disability, I wouldn't have had the opportunities I have today. I wouldn't have met so many amazing people. I wouldn't have done anything that I do now, and I wouldn't be speaking to you guys tonight. So obviously, that's where my disability's taken me. I had something called transverse myelitis. So basically, my immune system attacked my spinal cord overnight, thinking that my spinal cord was an illness, and destroyed all the nerves in my spine. So basically, that was what. So it was a spinal cord injury, and that resulted in me having my disability that I have today.
My goodness.
Whilst we're on that, whilst we're on that, Nathan, that's amazing that your famous saying of yours is that disability is the best thing that happened to you. Yeah. So what would your advice be to obviously potential para athletes out there on how they can replicate what you've achieved, and how
I would say, I came out of hospital on December 24th. I managed to get out just before Christmas, and by the 5th of January, my dad already had me playing a wheelchair basketball team. And when you become disabled and you get your disability, and at such a young age, you don't know anybody that's disabled like you. Yeah. So I went to do sport and para sport, especially wheelchair basketball, to learn from other people what it's like to have a disability, how to push a wheelchair, how to pick things up off the floor, how to do everything that people take for granted at the age of 8 because you've already learned how to do it. And that sport then taught me how to be a normal human being again, and taught me everything that I can do now. For me, I'm an advocate of trying every opportunity. So many different sports, and I think that's the beauty of parasport as well, is that there are so many sports out here, and you just have to find the sport that's for you. I've tried wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, swimming, rowing, water skiing, wheelchair racing, and then you find your niche from there. And then obviously, I played wheelchair basketball, and wheelchair racing came along a lot later. I didn't start wheelchair racing until I was probably 15. I think that's the thing about parasport, is that you try everything you can get your hands on, every opportunity that's given to you, and then you find your niche from there, and that's what'll take you there.
Amazing.
I think, yeah, Zain, go on.
Yeah, come on, Nishad, yours.
Oh, Nathan, I was
He's
just
the
listening
limelight.
to your answers. I was just listening to your answer there, and then you mentioned at the age of 8 what happened to you, and then that. So I would ask, what was an 8-year-old Nathan thinking when he learned at the age of 8 what has happened to him? So what was your thought process back then? I mean, now you've achieved wonders, and it's not a question to now,
yeah,
but
I think obviously as an 8-year-old, it doesn't really hit you very hard. I think it's actually harder for my parents, who were watching it happen, as opposed to me, who it was happening to. So I think as an 8-year-old, the thing I was most excited about was the day I got given a wheelchair, and I could, everyone knows, Adi Adepitan, and he was in the BBC One advert, and he was doing wheelies. And the minute I got given that chair, I was like, oh my God, I'm like him on the TV. And from there, it never really stopped me. I just learned how to push a wheelchair, and I learned how to do wheelies. No one ever taught me this. I just kind of learned it myself. So, I think for me, it didn't really hit me very hard. I think it probably hit my family a lot harder than it hit me. Because at the age of 8, you don't really know what's going on anyway. And if you get told, here's a wheelchair and it looks fun, then you're going to do it. And so, for me, I think, I always say it's the best things that have happened to me. And it was the natural progression of my life. I just got in a wheelchair and that was me.
Mm.
I think a lesson. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just trying to be philosophical. So I was just going to say that a lesson that we all can take away after this conversation is that every cloud has a silver lining. If you're resilient enough to see through what's going on today, then I think you can have a good future. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And as I say, the disability, for so many people, they think it's the end of their life, and actually it's the beginning of a whole new life with so many different opportunities and different ways of thinking and different ways of looking at life, I think. And I think for me, I would love to see so many people look through the world as I see it as a disabled person, not having everyone have a disability, but see it through my eyes of what I see and how I see it.
I can imagine. Connor, back at you.
Brilliant. Nathan, what got you into wheelchair racing? I tell you, when I see videos of wheelchair racers in action, it looks pretty tough. What initially got you involved in getting into the sport?
So again, it stems to wheelchair basketball. I was playing wheelchair basketball, and I was always one of the quicker players on the court. And my dad, he's been kind of a main driving force behind my sport, and kind of got me involved in sport. He was the first person that got me into wheelchair basketball. Then he was always the one trawling the internet, trying to find different sports to have a go at and just try. And wheelchair racing was no different to that. It was there was a club that was not far away from our house. It was only about 40 minutes away. And I went and tried wheelchair racing, and from there it was, I was hooked really. As a disabled person, you're held back a lot by people saying, slow down, be careful. They wrap you in cotton wool a little bit. And I know Hannah will have said this as well. The minute you get in a race chair is that you're then on, there's no one telling you to go slow down, to be careful. Everyone's saying, go for it, go as quick as you can, do whatever you want. And it's the freedom that sport gives you, and especially wheelchair racing for me, it's taken me so far, so many places that, I wouldn't have had if I didn't try wheelchair racing. Yeah.
No, brilliant. No, great.
Connor, can I quickly
Absolutely
hop in? So Nathan, I was very intrigued by your answer there, and then this 3 times now that you've mentioned about your parents. So my question to you is, so do you give? I mean, how do I frame it? I mean, what do you think your parents' contribution was in what man you've become today. So in times of from age 8 till today.
Oh, massively. You know, they're always the people that kind of are always on the sidelines of a basketball court, an athletics track. You know, whatever sport I know I would have done, they would have always been on the sidelines, and their support is obviously what I kind of do it for in a way. You know, I kind of do it to try and make them proud and try and prove to them that, you know, what they did for me is it's worth value for money, if you know what I mean, and that it's kind of working and making sure that I can make them proud. Really, that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that I can compete and just make them proud, basically. And I know that part of whatever I do, whether I come first or I come 25th, they're not bothered. They're just happy to see me racing and having fun. But obviously, I kind of do it because I want to show them what I can do and
Exactly.
and win for them in a way.
Yeah, so it must have been really, you know, they must have been proud of the fact that when you won your first medal. So obviously, I can imagine how proud they must have been. So what was it like for you then winning your first medal?
Yeah, so my first international senior medal was the 200 meters at the 2018 European Championships in Berlin, and you know, I kind of went into that. I didn't expect to win a medal, really. I just, every race I go in and I don't, that was a major turning point for me, really. You know, a lot of the time before that, I went into a race and kind of sat in the call room, which is where we sit for about 20 minutes, half an hour before we go out and race. And I'd sit there and go, he can beat me, he can beat me, he can beat me. And you know, winning that medal was then a turning point for me to look in the race in the call room and go, I can beat him, I can beat him, and I can beat him. And it was that kind of switch in my brain that, you know, and it allowed me to win more medals from there. At that championships, I won 3 bronzes and a gold. And you know, it's you know, they're medals up to now. But obviously, I want to add to that medal tally and hopefully win some more in the future.
Yeah, well, he kind of seconds what Ali Jawad was saying when we interviewed him on Tuesday. You know, the power of the mind is something else. You don't underestimate it. You put your mind to it, you can achieve wonders.
Definitely, yeah, definitely, I agree. And you know, for me, and that switch in my head of he's going to beat me to I can beat him, it helped and it actually worked. I came out last year and I was 5th in the world for the 800 meters. I went from 27th the year before to 5th in the world the next year.
Amazing.
Off the back of those medals that I'd won. So, you know, it definitely helped. You know, I'm out for 2019. I was 5th in the world for the 200, 400 and the 800 meters. And, you know, I think it is about the kind of power of the mind, as you put it. And it's that confidence of knowing that when you get on the start line of a race, that you can compete with the big guys and that you belong there. Because, you know, when you enter a race at the age of, so I went to Rio at I was 18, and you know, you sat on that start line and you're thinking, these guys are amazing. They're going so much quicker than I am. They're all 30 years old, and you kind of don't feel like you almost belong there. But at the moment now, you know, I kind of sit there and think, yeah, I belong on this start line. I can be competitive. I can show the world and everyone else on this start line what I can do.
Love it. Brilliant. Of course, we've got a question in the comments, and that is, where do you get your energy and motivation from? That's a question from Aboui.
Okay, so, you know, my motivation, and we've already said about my family. You know, they've done so much for me, so I want to try and repay them with medals and performances. And you know, I always do it for myself as well. I want to prove to myself that I belong with the wheelchair racers that I'm racing against. Yeah. I always say that the day that I don't enjoy wheelchair racing is the day that I don't do it anymore. And it's not got to that point yet. And I love racing. Every time I get on that track, well, every time I get in my race chair, I love it. I love going fast. I love that feeling. And you know, obviously motivation is quite difficult on the wet and rainy days like today. You know, And I think, obviously, because I went to meet a group, I went around Sefton Park in Liverpool, I met a group of people to train with.
Mm-hmm.
That helps. That's a motivation for me. I'm a very extrinsic person. Of somebody kind of shows me, like tells me what time to be there, and I'll be there. I'll be there 10 minutes early. I'll be in my race chair, ready to go. And it definitely helps when you've got a group of athletes there meeting you there, like jostling for position when you're training and having a laugh as well. That's, as I say, the minute I'm not having fun, I'm not going to do it. And I love it because all my friends are in wheelchair racing. All my friends I train with, I train with Hannah, and we just have fun while we're doing it. So it doesn't feel like hard work really, because you're having fun, you're doing what you enjoy. You see so many people going for a run, playing football, and they're doing it for fun, and I'm doing it for my job in a way, and it's the best job in the world.
So, Nathan, now I'll ask you one question, which is not serious again.
Okay.
So, I was just curious about what your diet plan was. Do you prefer something, or are you constantly on a diet plan throughout the year, or how does it work for you?
So diet is very important, but I'm very partial to not healthy foods, as everybody else is. And we're looking at the moment at trying to improve my diet a bit, and my S&C coach he's looking into fueling for a training session at the right times, what we eat, making sure that I am properly fueled for a race, and I think that's something that needs to be tip top. I'm not quite there yet, but hopefully I can get there soon. And as I say, everyone loves cake, and obviously you can have cake as long as you don't have too much cake. But I think diet is very, very important. And I'm knuckling down and trying to sort mine out. It's not as good as it could be, but I think it's getting there. And obviously, if you eat too much, then you're going to put weight on, and then your power to weight ratio is all wrong in the race chair. You want to be as strong as you can possibly be, and as light as you can possibly be. So, as much as you were talking to Ali, and Ali is a weight-based category, mine isn't, but it also is, because you need to make sure that you're as strong and as light as you possibly can be, so that you can be fast. Because obviously, if you're 120 kilos going around the track, you're not going to go very quick. So you've got to make sure that you're always tip top when it comes to racing and Paralympic Games and World Champs.
So what about cheat day then, Nathan? What's your favorite food on cheat day?
Pizza.
I love curry. That is my favorite. So there's an Indian restaurant down the road, and if I go away anywhere, say we go to Australia for 6 weeks every year, normally in January, and the minute I leave home, all I'm thinking about is the day I get home after that training camp, and I'm going to have a curry. And it's kind of what gets you through in a way, and everyone has those kind of thoughts of home. Hannah's is a shepherd's pie made by her mum. Mine's a curry made by someone down the road. But yeah, I love curry, and I think that's definitely my go-to meal. If anyone says, where do you want to go out for a night out, I'll be like, curry, definitely.
Come on to Bradford, Nathan.
Love in Bradford.
Sounds like we need to get you to the curry capital.
Yeah, we'll show you Bradford, Nathan.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
It's acceptable to have curry every night if you want.
I would love that.
It definitely is.
Absolutely love it. I would love it.
You'll fit in just right well in Bradford, Nathan. There's every corner. One's better than the other, and you won't get better curry than Bradford.
I don't think we're curry.
I know I'm being biased here, but
I actually don't think we're curry capital anymore. Isn't it like?
We lost that to
I think it's Birmingham or something, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, but we'll pretend it's still Bradford.
Well, I'll definitely come and have a look.
Have you another serious question? I feel like I ask all the serious ones. Well, inshallah.
That's okay. That's okay. Go for it.
Have you ever discovered doping in sports? And if you have or if you haven't, what do you think of it? What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I've never really had anybody that has doped in my races. Obviously, I think it's wrong. you want everyone to be on that level playing field, and I want to feel like the minute I get on that start line, everybody is as clean as possible, and clean, or just clean in general. There's no possible about it. I want everyone to be on that level playing field. We're all on the start line together, and whoever wins because they've trained the hardest, or they're the strongest. I don't want it to be because they've taken this magical substance that's made them go quick. And obviously, as a British Paralympic athlete, we're subjected to Adam's anti-doping, which is whereabouts. So I have to put in where I'm sleeping every day, and I also have to put where I'm training, and any regular activity that I have, so that anti-doping could turn up at any time. And for me, that's part and parcel of being an athlete, really, and it's about proving that you are clean, and that you want to compete on that level playing field. As I just said, I've been doped so many times, anti-doped so many times. I know, yeah, you know what I mean. I've been tested, so I say tested times. It's just second nature to me. They knock on your door, and you just know that a 6 o'clock call is, you know exactly who they are. It's really strange. We have this sixth sense that we'll know when they're coming. We know when they're coming.
So they come to your house then, do they?
Pardon?
They come to your house, do they?
Yeah. So
right.
They come. So I am on a whereabouts where I have to provide where I'm sleeping, where I train, and any regular activity. And then the next level on from that is you have to provide an hour slot every day. So they could turn up within that hour slot, whereas mine is just they'll turn up somewhere I train, or in the morning or in the evening before where I'm sleeping. But for me, I'm happy to do it. There's nothing worse than getting that 6 o'clock call and having to wake up and get out of bed. It always falls on the days where you have a lie-in and you don't have a training at 7 o'clock in the morning. It always falls on the days where you can get up at 10. But that for me, that's just part of it, really. And we get asked to do anti-doping quite a lot, and I'm happy to do it.
I suppose you would be happy to it if you're not involved in that circle, then you've got nothing to hide, and you'd welcome it almost to make it fairer for everyone, wouldn't you?
Exactly, and I'd like to think that everybody gets tested as much as we do.
Yeah.
The most I ever get tested was 4 times in 1 week.
Jeez.
Yeah, so a lot of it was the organisations didn't speak to each other within. It was British Athletics requested one with UK anti-doping. Then the Commonwealth Games requested one as well. Then World Paralympics requested one, and then England Athletics requested one in a week. So I had 4 in 1 week, but they all came back as negative. So obviously I had nothing to hide, and I was happy to do all those tests, and yeah, there was no problem with it because I'm happy to do them.
Brilliant.
So Nathan, some Obu from our audience wants to ask you if you could tell him what was your greatest moment during your career, and how do you express your leadership when you're in your game?
So my greatest moment probably would be winning my 4x100 meter relay gold medal. I won my bronzes individually at the European Championships in 2018, but I won that gold as part of a team, and for me that was bigger than my bronzes, because obviously I had won a gold medal, which is the ultimate goal. But I also got to celebrate with 3 other people, and for me, coming from a wheelchair basketball background, I was always part of a team, and coming to an individual sport, it was quite shocking that people didn't have the same kind of camaraderie. There is a little bit, but not the same as there is in wheelchair basketball. So being part of a relay team really added it to for me. And that's probably my career highlight. And especially being the last leg of a relay, you get the glory leg, and you get the cameras on you, and you're the one that wins it for everybody. But I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that without everybody in my team, and they were as much of a part of that gold medal as I was. So yeah, and you said about the leadership. So I would for me, I always say, I just want to be a good athlete and a nice person, and and as leadership can take so many roles, and for me, just reaching that kind of olive branch out to somebody who might be feeling a bit isolated, when they're out on a competition. There's some athletes that we train with and that I train with on a regular basis that when they get to a competition, say like last year when we're in with the World Championships in Dubai, he was really struggling because he comes from a family that's very close and there's always someone around him, and he was sharing a room with someone that he didn't know and that he was a bit nervous about, and as well he was away from home for a long time. So it's just about trying to involve people like that, and it's just about trying to be a nice person, really. And for me, leadership isn't. I'm not just a leader within my sport. I was a member of the Michael Johnson Young Leaders. So Michael Johnson, the 400-meter runner from America, he put a program out. He's been doing it for the last 4 years. I was a member of that in the 2019 year, last year. So I went to Dallas in Texas for a week for the Michael Johnson Young Leaders Summit. And that was, there was 10 of us, 10 people under the age of 25 from all countries around the world. And that brought together people who'd done extraordinary things within their sport, but also shown leadership within that. So there was a girl from India, and she was an advocate for women's health and like health around periods for women. And she used sport as a tool to teach young girls about health and about how to keep yourself safe, clean, healthy. There was a lad from Jamaica, and he was using sport and teaching people about how to keep beaches clean, because that was a big issue within his community. And I kind of went from the background of I also work with a charity called Panathlon. And they work with children with severe learning difficulties or physical difficulties, and try and involve them in sport, because they're children that wouldn't normally get the access to school PE and wouldn't get the access to sport. So my community was the disabled community, as opposed to the British community. Mine was a bit more niche of the disabled community. But as I say, I want to be an advocate for disabled people and disabled athletes and just young people that have a disability or might feel a little bit different. I want to make sure they have the same opportunities that I had, because you never know. You go into a sports hall of children with disabilities, you don't know who the next Paralympians in that room are going to be. So and it's just about giving them the same opportunities that I had, or giving them any opportunity to access sport, and it'll kind of, you don't know where it'll take them, really.
So Nathan, also on that, what would you say society can do better to help people with disabilities? Because yesterday we had, 2 days ago, we had Ali Jawad, and obviously his family is from Lebanon, and he was saying that the opportunities he got here in the UK, had he stayed in Lebanon, he wouldn't have had them opportunities. So would you think here in Britain we help people with disabilities a lot more than obviously many other countries, or would you think there's a lot more what the society can do to help people with disabilities in our workplaces, within our families, and also in the sporting background?
Yeah, I think, we are a hell of a lot better than a lot of other countries with disability, but we still have a long way to go. I always say you always know that you're disabled because you walk down the high street and you've got a 5-year-old kid holding her mum's hand like this, and she'll go, and she'll watch you go past with a gobsmacked look on her face. And I want to change that. I do so many things with schools, with Panathlon that I was talking about before. I've been doing a lot of Q&As with kids at schools. I've been doing medal presentations with them, and it's just about trying to change their perceptions of disability. Because the children in that classroom that are 5, they'll go home and they'll tell their 10-year-old brother, and then they'll tell their 15-year-old friends, and and then it goes from society from the bottom up. And if we can educate young people about disability from being at school and being 5 years old, then we'll become a more open and accepting society in the future. It's not just people's perceptions, it's also our infrastructure as well. Our infrastructure is getting better and all new builds, but we're quite a country with historic buildings, and they're very, very, they don't like changing historic buildings to make them accessible for disabled people. And I think for me, it's about making sure that nobody feels any different. And that ramp that you put up over those stairs, it's not just going to help me, it's going to help so many other people. And it's not even noticeable. So I think it just needs to be something that people second nature think about. At the moment, it's not. So hopefully we can try and change those perceptions one person at a time, but it's going to take a while if we do it one person at a time. But hopefully if we can, then it will help.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it could feel like on a society from our perspective that we face in our current circumstances, like people might take that as a burden, or we have to do so much work to accommodate disabled people, but we need to see this as an opportunity to help someone, and it's just the whole bigger picture, isn't it? And I think as a society we're starting to understand it, but I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done, and I think getting people like yourself just getting the word out there, that really does help a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we need to make sure that retailers know what the pulling power of the disabled community actually is. It's the purple pound. It's massive. It's absolutely huge. And without our support, the economy would have so much less money within it. And I think that's what needs to be kind of promoted more, in the fact that without us, they wouldn't have a shop. But then without the shop, we wouldn't have a shop either. So we want to make sure that every shop is accessible to every single person, and it's and as I say, that ramp that you just put up outside the door, it's that olive branch for me to go in there, and it makes me want to go in. It makes me feel valued. It makes me feel like I want to go in. And there's nothing worse than going up to a shop and asking if they've got accessibility and them saying no. They feel bad, but they don't realize how it makes me feel, because I can see everyone walking in there and I can't go in. So there's always that kind of small segregation within the UK of disabled people a little bit.
I thought that was a legal requirement. No?
Only there's a lot of, if it is, it's not fully known. Not many people know about it, because there are so many shops that aren't accessible. Like I live in Chester, and it's a really historic city, and there's so many shops that I can't go into because there's stairs either down or up into. So there's a long way to go. I always remember I went to Jack Wills in Chester, and I went to buy a jacket, and they said there was no wheelchair access. They couldn't get me around. They couldn't carry me in. So they asked what I wanted to buy. I mean, and then they brought it out to me, and I did a fitting in the street. And as much as they were trying to help, and I did buy that coat, but they didn't think of what it would make me feel like, having to, like a second-class citizen, not allowed in that store, trying something on in the street. So I think it's people trying to do their best, but obviously we don't have the legislation in place that actually is the best.
No, and it obviously shows that although we are very good generally, if you look around the world in terms of accessibility, which is still a long way to go. So another question I've got in mind is, you've been all over the world, Nathan, whether it be competing or elsewhere. How, for other people who are watching who kind of admire this, how have you been able to fund all these trips? What have you done to be able to have this great life of traveling?
So when I first started, my first 2 trips to Australia, my parents and my grandparents helped me to fund it. They paid for me to go because they knew it was a great opportunity for me. They knew it would be it would help me on my career, really, and that was kind of investment in my career for my family. And every single holiday that my parents booked for themselves, my race chair would come along with it, and I would train while the whole family's on holiday. So for me, that was kind of what I did. I haven't had a holiday without a race chair in a very, very long time, because it was always the done thing. They went on holiday, I trained. But then obviously I was lucky enough just after Rio to get put on the World Class Performance Program. So then I could kind of ease off the reliance on my parents or my family, to the fact that I could then travel the world and British Athletics would support me. Obviously, there's competitions that they don't support because their funding only goes so far. So then there is a small reliance on my family still, and as well on saving money for myself and paying for things myself. But obviously, it's a great help that British Athletics give us, and through the national lottery, I couldn't do my sport without that. It enables me to be able to do what I do on a daily basis, and I can guarantee you, without that money, I wouldn't have any medals under my belt, because I wouldn't have been able to do it for this long without the support that I've been given.
It's really good that you've had that support and that backing from, community backing from organisations, and obviously your family as well. So yeah, that's really great.
So Nathan, how is the transition from competing in the Paralympics and World Championships and then coming back to and readjusting to normal life at home?
Oh, it's the post-competition blues is the oh, there's nothing worse than, because when you're at Paralympic Games, you're away for a month and you're surrounded by people all the time. There's always someone to chat to, have a laugh with, and there's just someone always there. And you get home and you start there thinking, oh, where is everybody? Why do I not have this food hall with 10,000 people sat in it, right, waiting for me for my dinner? And it's very, very difficult coming home and not having everyone around. Obviously, sometimes it's nice to get home and just kind of chill and evaluate what you've just done, and kind of sit there and go, yeah, I've done that. I've kind of, what's my next goal? Because that's always what you do. Once you win your medal, you've got that medal then, and then you go, right, what's next? My medals are in my sock drawer at the moment, so I'm kind of I'm waiting to fill the sock drawer so I get a new sock drawer, basically. And then I want to, it's that thing of, I've won this medal, that medal's done. What's next? What's next on my list? What do I want to achieve next? And so, I allow myself maybe a week off, 2 weeks off, and then I'm straight back into training, because without training, I'm quite bored. So I like training. I like the people I train with, and they're the people I want to be with. So that's what I do. That's kind of me getting back to normality, is me getting back to training. I take 2 weeks off every year, and by the end of 2 weeks, I'm like, just can't wait to get back in my race chair and train again and do something other than watch TV and eat curry.
So what is your training regime then?
So I train 6 days a week, and that is 8 sessions in a week. It would be 2 in the gym and 6 in the chair. So I train on the track, on the rollers, and round the park in Sefton Park in Liverpool. So Sefton Park's great because we've got a 2.2 mile loop around the park, and then inside the park as well, there is hills and different things. So we can do so many different things within that. So I've used that for this last month lockdown. We've not had a track. I've utilised the road a lot more and the rollers. But we're getting back on a track from Monday. So that'll be my first access to a track I've had in a month. So I can't wait for that. There's, as much as we try to replicate track on the road and on the rollers, nothing beats getting on a track and pushing around and actually doing what we do, because that at the end of the day, we're going to be racing on a track. So if you don't train on a track, then you don't know what you're doing. I all my training comes down to going quick on a Monday night. I train every Monday night on a track in Liverpool, and all my training comes down to going quick that Monday night so that I can make the most of that track access, so that then I can go even quicker when it comes to getting on a track at the Paralympic Games.
Brilliant.
Oh, Nathan, I was just wondering if we ever get a chance to ask you to compete against Hannah.
Okay.
Who do you think, according to you, would win?
So, because me and Hannah are different classifications. So she has a brain injury, and I have a spinal cord injury. So I don't have any issues with my coordination. I don't have any issues with like pain in my legs. So she can sit in her chair for half the time. I can sit in it all day. So if me and Hannah were to race against each other, I would win, but obviously against the girls that she races against, then she's phenomenal. And I still have a bit of, she's a Paralympic champion, world champion, and I've still got a bit to go before I get to that. So within my classification, I'm still kind of working up the ranks and trying to knock a few people out of the way and try and make my way to the top. But Hannah's already done that within her field, and hopefully she can continue to. But I'm still on the way up and trying to do what Hannah does, really.
A very smart way to dodge that question. I'll give you that.
She's somewhere in the house listening. It was like, so the other day I was doing a question and answer with some children at school, and one of the children asked, "Why is Hannah Cockcroft your idol?" And all I heard was this big cackly laugh from the living room. And she was just laughing at me. And I had to do a very diplomatic answer. And I think I swerved it pretty well.
You're getting better at it, Nathan.
You're very good at it. So Nathan,
I was convinced.
Nathan, you said that you train in what park was it in Liverpool?
Sefton Park.
Sefton Park. Now, obviously, when the weather's like this, like it is now, what's your motivation to get outside? Would you maybe skip doing a training session outside and just do an indoor gym session, or do you just brave the wind and the rain and hope you don't get a cold?
Yeah, so in the past I have kind of skipped sessions and done things inside, and actually I've kind of come to the realization that it could rain at the Paralympic Games next year in Tokyo. Yeah. We've looked at the rain schedule for September. It rains for 16 days out of the 30 days in September. So I need to be ready for it to rain on that start line in Tokyo Paralympics, because it's inevitably going to happen at some point. So obviously, if I don't train in the rain and somebody else is, then they're going to have an advantage over me. I race against so many people that might not have the opportunity to train in the rain. So our world record holder over the 400 meters is from Tunisia, and he comes to England every year for a wet weather training camp, as opposed to we going for a warm weather training camp.
Oh, okay.
So for us, it's this year I've taken it as a bit of a learning curve and making sure that I can be best prepared for next year's Paralympic Games on the start line if it's raining. But in the past we have kind of dodged sessions in the rain, but I always say that if I'm not training, then there is somebody else in the world training. So if I miss a day, then they haven't, so they're one up on me. So I want to make sure that I'm one up on them. If it's raining, I'm one up on them.
Well, that's the first time I've heard about someone coming to England for the weather. That is a first.
I know. To be fair, it worked quite well for me. So before I went to the Junior World Championships in 2014, and they were training on the track that I went down to. It was in London, and I went down to Stoke Mandeville track a week earlier, and I trained on the track, and I managed to train with that team because they were here for wet weather training. It just so happened that whole week they were here, it didn't rain, but I was here for their cold weather training camp, and it helped me to win a few medals at junior champs as well.
Excellent. Now I'm cautious of the time, so I'm going to ask you one last question.
Okay.
What are your plans for Christmas? It's that time of year again.
What I'm planning for Christmas? So we're going to see Hannah's family. So we're only allowed 3 families this year, and it's going to be a very different Christmas, because normally I'm here, there, and everywhere seeing everybody.
Of course.
But this year we're going to go a bit smaller. We're going to have Christmas dinner at Hannah's mum and dad's in the morning, around about lunchtime, and then we're going to come home, and then my mum and dad are taking us out for a curry.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Are you coming back for this?
Best Christmas ever, this.
You're coming back for the curry over in Manchester, Windsor Road?
Oh no, we're staying over this way, but I'm definitely going to take you up on that offer on taking me out for a curry.
Of course, you're quite near. You're near Manchester, aren't you?
Yeah, so Chester is just between Manchester and Liverpool, so about half an hour for both.
Oh, so you like Wilmslow Road then?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Nathan. I'm also aware we've got Adam in the call. I'm just going to quickly say hi, Adam. Adam is our Cycling for All representative in the UBU. Adam, I think the reason I brought you in here is that, you know, since we've got Nathan here about wheelchair racing, tell us a little bit about people who are listening who might be interested in wheelchair racing. What are the opportunities that they can get involved in Bradford?
There's loads of opportunities in Bradford. There's a couple of organisations where you can get involved. There's Bradford Disabilities Sports and Leisure, and they link all the different disability sports clubs in the district. And coincidentally, we've got 2 chairs, the UBU, 2 racing chairs, which we got for the Bradford 10K. We've also got a wheelchair basketball team if you ever want to switch allegiances and join us. Okay. And yeah, so we got these chairs, but we're giving them on sort of permanent loan to Keighley Athletics Club, because they've got a couple of wheelchair users that want to get involved there. So yeah, you can do it if you live in Bradford and you want to get involved. Get in touch with us, or get Bradford Disability Sports and Leisure.
So if you're interested, email Adam, and if he doesn't respond, email me and I'll make him respond. Excellent, thanks, Adam.
And Connor's response is going to be in 3 to 5 business months. You saw it coming, Connor.
I did. I am very prompt in my emails. Thank you very much. Anyway, yeah. Cheers, Nathan, for chatting to us. Really great as usual. And yeah, to everybody watching, next Tuesday we'll be joined with Gemma Collis-McCann, who is a World Cup winning wheelchair fencer who represented Team GP at London 2012 and Rio 2016. She's broken into the world top 10 and is now 2-time World Cup medalist, winning gold in Montreal in 2018. So we've got that to look forward to. But that's us with Nathan. Thank you very much, Nathan. Thank you, Zayn, our sports officer, and Inshal, our community activities officer.
Thanks, Nathan.
Having me.
Hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, Nathan.
Definitely. I'll see you after Korea, and then we'll get you both all in a race chair, and we'll see how well you do.
Oh, definitely.
Sounds like a plan after lockdown.
Definitely.
See you later, everyone.
See you later, Nathan.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah,
Bye now. Bye-bye.